Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, as well as the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series, which now has 3 books. Peekaboo, peekaboo. All right, gotta keep it fresh. Keep it fresh, those special effects, we gotta go. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of the magic range, and how if you understand this idea of the magic range, you understand the key to like 80% of jazz voicings. Some of you who subscribe to this channel watched my video called Jazz Voicings in Under an Hour, where I talk a lot about the magic range. And so this might be a good follow-up to gain a little bit more knowledge and see some of the applications of this idea of the magic range. So, time to go into teacher mode. What is the magic range? The magic range is between this C in the bass clef and this G in the treble clef. We call this the magic range. I wish I had a special effect right now to do something cool. I got nothing, guys. I'm sorry. And what do we do with the magic range? We want to put the essential tones of the chord within the magic range. So that's the 3rd and the 7th in most cases. In jazz, we do use quite a few 6th chords. And in the case of 6 chords, and this is important, I just see students struggling with this so much, the 6th replaces the 7th. Okay, it's not just that you add the 6th, that the 6th becomes the essential tone. The other chord that might affect the essential tones is a sus chord, in which case a 4th replaces the 3rd as the essential tones. But think of the 3rd and 7th as being your standard essential tones. So what do we do with these? And let's take the example of a friendly old C major 7. All right, so our essential tones will be E and B. And basically there's 2 positions that we can put these in that are going to stay within the magic range. There's generally just going to be 2 positions. Occasionally, like if you're right at the border, maybe there will be 3 different positions. If you have like a C or a D flat as one of the 2 essential tones, you might get into multiple positions. Okay, so just having these 2 essential tones is generally referred to as a shell voicing. So what I have right here, these are really our 2 possible shell voicings for C major 7. Sometimes that word shell voicing is also used for voicings that include the bass, the root note, sometimes an alternate bass note, and then one of the 2 essential tones. I call those bass shells just to give them a different name and not to refer to a bunch of stuff by the same name. And so bass shells could be kind of any combination. So it could be that you have C and both essential tones in the magic range. It could be that you have just the bass in the 3rd. It could be that you have just the bass in the 7th. Okay, so there's your shell voicings above a bass note, and here's your different bass shells. I'll play them in order. Here's the first one, second one, 3rd, and with the 7th. Right. And you might wonder, why are there 2 bass shells that go with the 3rd and only 1 that goes with the 7th? Well, it just has to do with hand size. I don't know anybody who can reach that interval. That's almost 2 octaves. So, with the 3rd, we could reach a 3rd or a 10th, but with the 7th, there's only really 1 position to put it in. Okay, but notice we're not going any higher, any lower. If we're making one-handed voicings, regardless of which hand is going to play them, we're going to keep our 2 essential tones in the magic range. I sound like a broken record. So for instance, we might make a 3-note one-handed voicing like that. We might make a 4-note one-handed voicing. Remember, we're still on a C major 7, using the 13th and the 9th. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding in color tones, right? We'd consider, the 5th, the 9th, the 13th as usable color tones against a major 7th chord. Some of you might be wondering, what about the sharp 11th? Not impossible. We sometimes do use the sharp 11th with majors. Now I'm writing it in treble clef, but the register is still the same. right? We've got the B right below middle C and the E right above middle C. But just for legibility, I'm writing it here. We could put an essential tone in between. I'm sorry, let me say that again. We could put a color tone, D, in between the two essential tones. And we could do that here as well. We could put an A in between. But remember, these two aren't going to move. The B and the E only have these two positions. If we're making bigger voicings, if we're making two-handed voicings, we still are going to think about these two possible positions. So we could have 4 notes. We could add more color tones, have 5 notes. Here's 5 notes. Here's 4 notes with the 7th on bottom. Now, what if we want our biggest possible voicings? We want to create a shout chorus. How are we going to, expand into the top of the piano? Well, the answer is that we're still going to maintain our essential tones in that magic range. And we're going to use a big one-handed voicing, like a 4-note one-handed voicing. And then we're going to put a melody, let's just use D as the melody note just for an example, above this. And then we can fill in that melody note with 1, 2, or 3 notes, depending on how thick we want it to be. So it could just have another note there. I could put 2 notes there. I'm gonna just copy and paste that, and I'll add maybe a G right here. Maybe I'll copy and paste that, but I'll add 3 notes in between. So B, what's going on here? I need a B, I'm gonna put an A and an F sharp. There's that sharp 11th. Okay, so even as I'm expanding outwards, I'm still keeping the 3rd and the 7th within the magic range. And what about a big, thick solo piano ballad voicing? Well, let's say that I'm harmonizing a G as the melody note. I'm going to get my bass as low as possible. And then what's not going to change is the E and B are going to be within the magic range here. And maybe I'll add in some color notes. If I have a much higher melody note, I'm going to try to keep my bass where it is, and I'm going to use that higher position. Well, I'm not going to be able to reach all that, so I'm going to have to move my bass up. And then I fill in color tones around that. Let's see. Maybe like that. Now it's interesting, in general, you might know that when we play solo piano, we don't like to double. We don't like more than 1 G, we don't like more than 1 D or something like that. But when we have one of the essential tones outside of the magic range, this is one time when it is appropriate and usually desired to double. Because our ear otherwise will miss hearing that note within the magic range. So here I might add very similar color tones. Well, let's do it a little different just for kicks. I'll put the G down there and the A up there. And it's pretty easy to grab a D there as well. Now listen what happens if I omit that 3rd from the magic range if I just use the top third. So I'm playing all of this, but I'm not playing that E. Not the end of the world, but you can hear that it sounds a little empty. It sounds a little bit without direction. I don't think you'd get fired from your gig, but it's just not as nice. It's not as stable as having that essential tone within the magic range. So you can see that for a ton of voicing types, if you can first start with this thought of putting those two notes within the magic range, you can build around that to create really satisfying voicings. If you want to know a lot more about voicings, oh baby, we got a lot of voicings, a lot of details in this book, Playing Solo Jazz Piano. You might enjoy it. If you watched this far, why don't you comment with your favorite magic trick in the comments. Maybe it's pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Maybe it's cutting a lady in two. Whatever floats your boat. Comment in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all soon.